researchers, how we could promote the research. Now I'd like to invite our Dr. Abdul Hannan Chowdhury sir. He is the Vice Chancellor of the BRAC University. Before asking him to deliver his speech, I just asked two questions to sir. Why you cannot get the original research from a developing country like from Bangladesh? You know the basic reason applied research. Most of the time you read the reference from the Western countries. Why not we can use the reference from the Bangladesh countries? Why you could not produce that kind of research? And secondly, as you are the academic leaders, how we could create the research integrity in the universities? Sir, please, during your speech, I request you to deliver these 2 points. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me, also having me in this conference. I have been actually patiently hearing from the morning. It was a wonderful conference. I must thank the librarian, Prof, for organizing such a wonderful event for us. And also, you know, the panelists, all the panelists in the earlier session was truly luminary, and I think even in this session, I'm the last speaker, so I think I have to speak less, although he gave me 2 questions about my, observation, what do I feel as being a Vice Chancellor, what should we do actually in the academic arena in terms of bringing the research integrity. The discussion today was heavily on the academic integrity and the ethics, morality, all those issues, and finally it has come to up to one point, plagiarism, how turn it can actually check and then see that, well, what proportion of your research is actually plagiarized or not. Well, when you talk about the academic integrity, we all know that, well, as being an academician, professors, researchers, and investigators, those who are working in the academic arena in our country, we all are involved in pursuing sort of academic and scholarly work with the motive, all the tasks that we are doing with the motive that we are going to be honest, to some extent responsible also from our own position, and also having an open mind that we're going to keep everything intact, all sort of integrity, academic integrity. When you talk about academic integrity, there are many dimensions, as we have heard from the earlier speakers. They have given us what should we do in the classroom, and also towards focusing on the student part in terms of whether they submit a homework or assignment or a thesis, how can we actually check all those plagiarized things or whether there is any original work or not. That is one part. The other part is also, we have talked about clearly in the earlier session, that is being a teacher or a professor, how consistent we are going to be in terms of judging our students by a fair means of grading fair and all those fair practices that are truly important for any academic environment. We have talked about those things heavily. I would focus 2 things as he already mentioned, but the research integrity part is something very essential for all of us, especially as being a Vice Chancellor. I must try to say that I have also some responsibility in order to ensure the integrity part in research in the academic environment or the universities or the program that we are working. It is truly very challenging actually in a country like Bangladesh, when we are in the top and we are actually dealing with a diverse group of faculty members, young and old, and also different type of institutions across the country. We see government universities, private universities, public universities. If I even ignore the student part, think about our faculty part, the teachers, those who are involved. We have hundreds of university, and on an average, if I put 100 faculty per universities, 10,000 faculty members in the private sector. And in the government sector, if I multiply it with a different number, around average 400 or 500, you will see another 10,000 or 20,000 students. So we are talking about actually around 30,000 faculty members, those who are self-declared researchers. They also claim that, well, they do research, they are involved in researches, and how do we actually manage this big chunk of people that they are actually claiming their promotion through publishing a paper, and we have to scrutinize all those papers whether they are plagiarized or they have any original work or creativity, or they truly have done some good work. It is a truly big challenge for us. In my experience in the last 13-14 years after I came back from the US and Canada, actually across the market of our academic institutions in our country, I see when I read, when I review, when I actually accept paper for the journals that I am dealing with in the universities or even outside, I see, gross reproduction of many things that is going on in our country in many forms. So when we talk about the integrity or ethics and morality, the researchers, the investigators, the faculty members has to understand that what to do and what not to do is something very important for all of us to actually be very focused in order to get those outcomes, the right kind of outcomes. We see fabrication in many cases. The data was making up. We see that, the methods and findings they have used that somebody else has done it, and they just say that, we are doing an application-based research in Bangladesh, we are not doing any basic or fundamental research. This sort of claims we see from our faculty members, and also we are doing those kind of things. We also see falsification in many cases, actually. The manipulation and to some extent omitting data, to some extent see that, while they are performing the analysis, some of the results are actually not coming in alignment with the research topic or the intentions that the researchers actually putting forward. They actually set aside those results, and they are only putting those things that are truly complying or somehow, some way aligned with their goal, and that's how they want to actually go. So plagiarism is coming at the very end product of research which you want to publish, which you want to see as a thesis. But throughout the process, there are enormous tasks that one researcher has to follow. Are we truly following those things? We have to agree on those things that, there are some integrity part for a researcher or investigator, that while the journey of research begin, every steps of research, we have to follow everything in a manner so that we don't deviate from there. That's why you see in Bangladesh, also in the South Asian region, I would say many things are actually existing in across the world submitting papers. My reviewers, even in the soil of US, they are giving review in 2 days or 3 days without much going in detail, in depth about the process of the research that the author has done. So ultimately what we are doing as being an academician, we are putting everything down of the quality of research that we want to see in the academia to be existing, and rather than penalizing, we are actually trying, or we have established a process in our country, particularly in the public universities and also private universities. There are enormous number of journals that are existing in our country's academia platform. These journals have no other objective other than giving promotion to some of our young colleagues to take these people up to professor level. Nothing that I see that they are contributing. So as far as his question that, how do we actually begin with the original research thinking and the critical minds that are going to evolve from a researcher, that are truly very important. You know what? When I talk about research, sometimes I do not see even the colleagues, they are coming up with an idea or a thinking that they want to take a challenge at the very first place. They are not a challenge taker, because research are going to begin with an inquisitive mind, that you are going to come with a challenging mind, that you are going to address those causes, and eventually you are going to find out something that is very justifiable, or results whatever you come up with. The challenging part I'm not observing across the country, especially with the young researchers. That is what is a shocking news for all of us. Because when we want to do original research, that fundamental research, that means you have to have sort of theoretical contribution in your subject matter or the arena that you are focusing on. Unfortunately, none of our colleagues or I or we all are not, even going in detail to check that what are the latest papers that are already published in this domain that click into my mind. We don't find them. They don't come to us, or they are not showing that interest that they are going to check the world-renowned index, scopus or top journal in that particular area, and by reading at least few papers on the domain, they are going to create or come up at a position that they will take at the very first day a challenging project in their hand. I don't see that much, and that is very unfortunate matter for all of us, because it's very shocking if we see that, well, we are giving in one side a very big platform for the young researchers, the young faculty members to grow and nurture their intellectual level from this country, and we want to see that, well, these group of people, they are going to float around across the world in the top research institutions, and they are going to become somebody who is going to be truly a good researcher. So that is what from the top administration, and as being a senior colleague at this moment, I can claim that I crossed 31 years of teaching, and both in Bangladesh and also in the US and Canada. Half of my career was in the US and Canada, and half is here. So I see the contrast. I don't see many of my young colleagues are taking challenging projects. I see they start with a topic first. They come with a topic that this is my research topic that I want to begin with. I say, how come you know that this is what is your topic if you do not read some of the papers that you bring in front of me and show that, well, these are the papers that I have read, and finally I have gone through all those papers in the top journal and figure out that the research hole and research gap is there, and therefore this is where I'm going to come up with a research question. So I would request my colleague to become honest and trustworthy, and they should practice a fair process and become very respectful to the senior colleagues, those who are doing truly good research, and also become take the responsibility. But being a vice chancellor, I would say that, well, we have a role in the academic institutions to because in the academic institutions we see that, well, there are multi-level, multi-stage and stakeholders are there, from the academic institutions to the dean's level, to the faculty chairperson and the heads level, and then eventually it goes to the faculty level. We should talk about all the integrity part, the honesty part, the moral, and all sort of guidelines that are always available. Actually, I think the policy guidelines, whatever we talk about, these are already existing in the world top universities website even. What should be the integrity for research, and any top university you go and search, you are going to find it in a quick 2 minutes searching process, that what would be the integrity from my part in order to accomplish a research. But let us come together in one point that, well, from the academic part, administrative part, we want to disseminate all this administrative procedure to the bottom. And we would like to also see the bottom pyramid, the lecturers, the senior lecturers, they are going to also come forward to help us, so that we see a beautiful research environment is going to come to our country. But once again, thank you very much for arranging such a beautiful conference. I would say very pertinent for Bangladesh to talk about research. We don't much talk about research actually, but this is a great gathering, and that's as BRAC should get it. Thank you very much for having me, and also other speakers from other universities. Thank you.